Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing a tank that I really never thought that I was going to feature on this channel. It is the Tier 7 American turreted tank destroyer, it is the T-25-2. Now I've actually got a tank review of this vehicle from way back in 2013. Yeah, I actually went and watched that video before I went to go and make this video, and I thought whether I could kind of... well, firstly I thought, wow, I look at just a little bit different, but still pretty much the same over the last 6 years. But more importantly, wow, my commentary has come on so much. Wow, yeah, give myself a pat on the back, QB. Once you've been doing for 6 years, you're kind of a little bit better than it. Wow, I get the Muppets reward for today, right? I digress. Let's focus on the tank in question, the T-25-2. So this is pretty much like the T-25-AT. Right, the Tier 7 American non-turreted TD, but it can't use a 100mm gun or a 105mm gun. This vehicle uses a 90mm, a lot like that you used on the Hellcat, the predecessor for this vehicle. Now everybody knows about the Hellcat, nobody really thinks about the T-25-2. And the reason for that is that this vehicle sacrifices so much mobility to be able to gain just really not very useful armor. The front armor on this tank is 76mm, that's both on the turret and on the hull. The side armor is 50 on the hull and 25 on the turret. It's just really not enough to be able to handle most of your opponents. However, when you're in a matchup like this, at least your turret, your mantlet, will be fairly good against a few vehicles on the enemy team. Now that we've finished shooting down the walls that the enemy vehicles have blocking our vision, I was hoping that I could go to town on the TOG. However, unfortunately, we lose 258 hit points to the GW Panther, and then 228 hit points to the T-25-2. Should have thought that the artillery would be zeroed in on me there. Good job by the GW Panther. And yeah, you can see this tank doesn't take hits very well, does it? No, not at all. The only time you're really going to be able to take hits in a tank like this is when you're just peering up over a ridge line, and your turret just magically goes and absorbs the shell for you. Really nice when turrets do that. You kind of want to have hungry turrets in World of Tanks, right? Now, why is this the tank that I never thought would be featured? Because it's just such a nothing tank in the game. Let's be honest, Hellcat is so much more exciting at Tier 6. The T-28 prototype. Is that what it's called? The T-28 prototype? I don't even know what it's called. But you know the one that I mean, the Tier 8 American turreted tank destroyer with the 120mm gun, and finally at least some armor to be able to work with, right? Sure, that tank is slow, but it's this kind of like death slug that just gets around the battlefield to be able to take out its opponents, and I'd rather play that tank than play this tank. However, when I actually went and dug around in the statistics of this vehicle, I figured out that it's not all bad news. The damage per minute on this tank is better than its medium tank counterpart, the T-20, which also uses a 90mm main armament. It's also got better aim time, better accuracy, better rate of fire, obviously with the damage per minute being higher. The vehicle also has... that's it really, actually it's just a better gun. No, I was going to say that the tank had lots of other things, but it really doesn't. This is pretty much a T-20 that wants to sacrifice its mobility to be able to gain better gun performance. That's what it comes down to. It has worse view range than the T-20, which means that you definitely want to use binoculars. Now, one thing I'd like to highlight here is that I was actually waiting for this Oni to be stunned. And if you're wondering why this Oni can't shoot me, it looks like he actually just tried to take a swing at the Su-100 behind me. It's because when the Oni is stunned, his commander is 25% less effective. And so quite often what I will do when I'm playing tanks like this, where I use binoculars and Camonet, is I'll either wait for them to move, as you saw in one of my previous videos last week, where I was playing the T-3485 against what we thought was the bot at the end of the game. When he moves, he doesn't have binoculars. Therefore, he's got very poor view range and he's probably not going to spot me. It's the same deal with artillery. When artillery stuns a tank, they reduce their commander's crew skill by, oh goodness gracious, talking about commander's crew skill, Sixth Sense alerts us that we're about to make a terrible decision here. And luckily we bounced the Chiri, we bounced the Stug, and that's why Sixth Sense is the most important skill in World of Tanks. Alright, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, if artillery stuns an enemy vehicle, then that means that their commander is going to be 25% less effective. I think it's 25%. And so that means their view range is going to be reduced. And so you can actually work within stuns in these kind of low-tier games where artillery have got good rates of fire and they end up stunning the enemy tank for pretty much the whole time, to avoid the enemy from spotting you altogether at a decent distance. as that's what I was trying to go for there against the Oni. I know that the Oni has pretty good base view range, so it was a bit of a gamble, but a gamble that I felt like needed to be took. And in the end, the tier 7 heavy tank gets shut down, and we're still alive to tell the tale. Alright, so this game, it's not really going very well. Do you know what the key problems with this game are? The key problem is that T-3485M. The T-3485M up here pushed me out of the bushes. I had to because of the artillery pressure and because of the pressure from the heavy tanks advancing right through the D line here. This T-3485M, as long as he just stays up there and uses those bushes, is pretty much just going to be able to win this game. But oh wait, T-3485M, you have made such a big mistake. Now I use the third person to shoot through the walls there. We actually track the guy. I auto-aim at him to shoot through the other wall, but he gets taken down before we manage to pick him apart. It looks like we avoid the Leffe shell on the enemy team. Rapid fire, tier 5, premium, French, self-propelled gun. Those vehicles are an absolute curse on the game in my opinion. In fact, I think that whenever one of those sold, that this game gets a little bit worse. Well, at least the matchmaking gets significantly worse at low tiers, right? For every one of those self-propelled guns in the matchmaker. Anyway, let's focus on what's at hand, and that is that the T-3485M on the enemy team made such a massive mistake. That was the misplay of this game. Now I'm able to advance up here and to retake this position. And this position is very strong if the enemies don't have anyone contesting it, because you can use the bushes that you see the shtug in, and that means they are not going to be able to spot us if we use the bushes correctly, and we are going to just be able to absolutely dominate from here. Mark my words, domination is inbound. Yes, in the T-25 too, that's it. I never really thought that I would be saying that either. Never thought I'd be featuring this kind of nothing tank. There's arguably a better medium tank at the same tier that kind of does everything that the vehicle does just a little bit better apart from the damage potential. There's a more interesting tier 6 tank destroyer below it and a more interesting tier 8 tank destroyer above it. Rough for the T-25 too, right? Anyway, we're going to show that even if this is a tank that I didn't think that I was going to feature, we can still do some good stuff in it. I don't think anyone's going to claim this is their best tank at tier 7 or tier for tier in World of Tanks. No, not at all. So we actually need to go a little bit further over there. Do you see how this tree is blocking vision against the TOG? So by reversing a little bit to the left, we're able to spot around the tree and the TOG gets shut down. Great stuff. And what is this M41 doing? I'm thinking, like, will somebody please just shut down this self-propelled gun before they manage to spot us? And right now, we are in a 5 versus 7 situation now with the M41 HMC getting taken care of. Okay, so I'm not sure that sitting up here is going to be able to achieve anything. If I sit up here, all that's going to happen is the enemy team are going to advance across this location, they're going to get to this ridge, and then they're going to spot our artillery. So what I want to do instead is to make my way up into the bushes here. I'm going to be able to extend our view range a little bit further up to that 445 meters maximum spotting distance. Hopefully catch somebody out as they make their way into the cap circle. And alternatively, I'm thinking about making my way along here and getting into this position where then I can go towards these bushes here to be able to, again, deepen the view range that we have against the enemy team. And that's really what you have to do. One thing I really think is just so easy to do in World of Tanks, and it doesn't require you to have pixel-perfect aim and pixel-perfect plays, is to dominate vision. If you can learn how to dominate vision in World of Tanks through binoculars and better knowledge of game mechanics than your opponents, then you can literally deal with them without them being able to have a chance of fighting back against you. So, by working this position, we've made it, we shoot the Wolverine, and oh dear goodness, even though this tank has got 1.7 seconds aim time, we fluffed the shot, and an even bigger disaster, they managed to spot us as well. However, this vehicle, it's not the slowest tank, and so we're able to quickly get down the ridge, wiggle a little bit and pray that the artillery miss us, but that Leffe hits us as well, which now means that the Chi-Ri is going to be able to handle us in 3 shots. Now, well played to the Chaffee on the enemy team. They're doing exactly what they need to do. They've got to the mid-ridge and they're using it to spot out our artillery, to spot out our tank destroyers, and to put pressure up on us. I wedge my tracks up here to be able to make a little bit of a climb up the slope, and I'm hoping that I can manage to get around the corner towards my right and then put pressure on the Chaffee. That's the plan. Let's see if it's going to be the case. Oh, Chaffee, 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 Chaffee. Did you think I was gonna do this? No, you didn't, son. Shutting down the tier 5 American scout tank, and now we get to turn our attention towards that artillery that was harassing us earlier this game. Put one round into their side, we go forwards to hopefully avoid the shell, which lands just behind our tank. And it looks like the SU-100 is on the warpath right now. So we actually spot the Stug 3G on the enemy team, who's right around the corner. And this is looking really good for us now. We basically made an absolute cut through the enemy lines. We're safe from the artillery, the SU-100 flanked, and with support from my 90mm gun, now we've actually managed to remove the artillery, and now we've got their tank destroyers right where we want them. I see that the Wolverine has to deal with the Stug that advances towards him, so of course, I'm going to take the opportunity to make up for that bad run of luck that we had earlier. So now the Stug takes a hit from the artillery, making him a one-shot for me. And you know what? I'm starting to feel quietly confident in this game with plays like this and just momentum swings, as we are now actually one vehicle ahead compared to our opposition. But that SU-100, that absolute tier 6 Soviet tank destroyer hero who dealt with the enemy artillery, is now making it straight towards the cap circle with a beeline. I can't really let them down, but equally I can't get feasted on by the Chi-Ri. I'm thinking, should I focus the Dicamax? I can't quite find a shot into the Dicamax, but I think that maybe there's some rubble around the flag, and it doesn't go in. An absolute disaster here, and the Dicamax is still alive. He stops driving forwards, and oh, dearie me. That's horrific. All right, look, we can still do it. There's maybe a full health Chi-Ri. There's a Dicamax that I believe has 400 meters view range at the back of the map there that's going to be able to spot us, but we don't need to panic. I press affirmative. Hopefully this Gorilla's going to communicate with us. And now we mosey our way through towards the bushes to hopefully catch a glimpse at the Chi-Ri. So I stop and have a think. I look to my right and I think, am I going to be spotted? And wow, can you believe the Chi-Ri is right there? Thank goodness we're using binoculars on this tank and we're able to get a nice big glimpse at him. If we just stop and we make them stationary, we can shoot through the bush because the bush is now opaque and so they're not going to be able to spot us through the bush. And I fired once and I'm thinking that Chi-Ri is probably not going to move, so I'm going to fire twice. And because the cap points get reset, that clearly means that we spotted him. And just look how important binoculars are here. We don't actually spot him until he gets behind the bushes. So I guess it wasn't actually anything to do with the binoculars. We put another round into the Chi-Ri and our artillery follows it up with 191 damage. I wish he'd done 900 damage to him. This game would be a lot easier if that was the case. And now I just decide that with the Chi-Ri about to flank and with only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the game, there's only one move for me. Now if I just sit there, what's the Chi-Ri going to do? He's going to sit up in these bushes. They're not going to cap. The Dicamax is probably going to push the artillery and then he pushes me and then the Chi-Ri finishes me off. So I decided that my hand is forced. I have to get the jump on my opponents. So I'm aiming for where the Dicamax is. Now that I know that I'm past the gap, I have to aim for where the Chi-Ri is. I ping the map a few times and oh my lord, looks like I was absolutely napping for a second there. What was I doing? I didn't react to that Chi-Ri at all. Terrible reactions, but luckily we clutched a shot into the hull. And you can see that now I'm communicating with the artillery. I'm asking him to scout for me. I'm begging the artillery to please go. Please go, artillery. If the artillery goes and scouts for the Dicamax, he'll be able to spot him. But this is it. If that Dicamax gets over the other slope, it's going to be hard for me to finish him off. But luckily, it was not the case. We catch the Dicamax in the side. And a big shout out to that gorilla. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do this without you, Sandy, in this game. And who would have thought it? Even a practically useless, irrelevant kind of tank that nobody really wants to play can still have a good game. As long as you do the basics right. So an ace tanker here for this vehicle, 1,515 base, 3,200 damage was enough to get us a high caliber, and the final kill on the Dicamax also secures us a top gun, and we would have made a profit with or without a premium account in this game. It definitely wasn't an impeccable round. I nearly choked at the end there against the Chi-Ri with some bad reactions. I'm going to put that down to reading Twitch chat, as this was during my Tech Tree showcase on Sunday. But who would have thought it? 6 years after I first did a full tank review on the T25-2, I'm back at it. And while I'm not saying I truly love this vehicle, I thought that maybe this one would have been an interesting game for all of you out there, featuring non-premium, unusual tanks where we're pushed to try and think outside the box to be able to win the game. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a vehicle that I never thought I would feature on this channel. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know what you think about the T25-2 in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.